Joining me now is former Congressman Joe Sestak of Pennsylvania, where he served as a member of the Armed Services Committee. He is also a retired admiral in the Navy, and he is now running for a seat in the U.S. Senate. Always good to see you, Congressman. Thank you for joining me.
Good to be with you.
Your reaction, sir, to Jerry Falwell Jr.'s comments and similar rhetoric that we're hearing out on the campaign trail.
You know, I walked on the ground in Afghanistan, a Muslim country, and head of the Navy's anti-terrorism unit. And I also served with Muslims. And those Muslims that I served with would have laid down their life for me, and I for them. I think if he wanted to talk about how to prevent terrorism, how to protect his students, rather than denigrating a faith, perhaps he would have been worthwhile listening to. So I just think his call for what he wanted to do is, you know, I could use the word ridiculous, but it's exactly what's wrong today. Here's a leader of a public institution that doesn't even understand the public, and that's what I think was amiss with his statements.
What do you want to hear from the president tonight?
I would like to hear two things. Americans are rightfully, as I am, a bit alarmed, a bit unsettled. We're that way because we saw Paris, where the bombings all of a sudden intruded onto our, as we were going out, so to speak, in Paris, just to a theater. And now all of a sudden here at home at a holiday Christmas party, things happened right there. Americans are rightfully unsettled, and I think he should say several things. First, he should make sure that overseas, from where this threat, the ideas of it emanate from, that he has to recognize for America that we will take down that state, that caliphate, ISIS. But then I want him to say, what is our day after strategy going to be? Where does it end? Because if he is going to take it down, we want to know, like when it was we took down Saddam, that we're not going to have to remain there with a threat after a threat after a threat. In short, it's not, as someone said, the first step of policy that matters. It's the last step, so that you leave behind a durable order. Number two, I'd like him to talk about here the tools that we don't have, and we should, or the tools we want to take out of the hands of the terrorist. Assault weapons is what a terrorist likes because they're brutally efficient, with great speed to do their damage here. How can we let them get it here at home? And number two, we can't even go back beyond 2 years to find out that this couple that went to Saudi Arabia from Pakistan, who did they meet over there? Who did they talk to? Because a few days ago, Alex, as you well know, we shut down the program where we could go back several years. Instead of making sure that we had the proper warrant to go in and search, we just ended it. I think he has to address the issue overseas for durable peace with a strategy for the day after, so that we're not there forever. And here at home, that we do have the proper tools taken out of the hands of the terrorists, and we have the tools for NSA and others to make sure it doesn't happen. So do you want to hear a gun control message, and is tonight the appropriate place to put that message forth? That's not what I want to hear, because what I want to hear is that the president actually has a strategy, that this threat, ISIS, that actually is a state controlling 6 million people, that has upwards of $2 billion a year of monies coming in from its oil fields and others, that he actually is going to be able to tell us that a strategy is something beyond just 50 special forces today, and by the way, we're going to insert a few more a week later. What's the end game? So that we're not there forever. So when ISIS goes away, that we're putting those special forces with, is it the Kurds or the Sunnis to fight with? So afterwards, working with Russia, working with Iran, there's a durable order there, that ISIS is gone and there's no one that can occupy a place there because we've left a vacuum, as we did after Saddam Hussein went away. But part of that is here. I voted for a bill in 2007 to study homegrown terrorism, and you know, it never got through the Senate. Gun control in the sense of an assault weapon can be part of this, but also the NSA should have a larger role to play with proper judicial oversight to listen in a lot better to those that might be damaged as long as a warrant is there. So it's a myriad of an approach, but it's a strategy that we lack today. But what, to your point about a military strategy, sir, Defense Secretary Ash Carter appeared before the House Armed Services Committee this past week, and let's take a listen to part of what he said as the military engages more in fighting ISIS.
To build on that momentum we're sending on President Obama's orders, and the chairman's and my advice, Special Operations Forces personnel to Syria to support the fight against ISIL.
And in addition, as you know, to an earlier boost in the Special Ops Forces a few weeks ago, as someone who served on the Armed Services Committee, do you think an increase in U.S. forces there will have an impact on domestic security?
I think the proper increase of military might is absolutely something that could help us on domestic security, because I believe, though, that the way that the President and Secretary of Defense have approached this, it's almost like a day-to-day thing. 50 today, all of a sudden we're sending more over. No, he has to recognize that.
What do you see as being the proper increase?
First of all, recognize ISIS is a very dangerous state. It's not just an international terrorist organization. That changes what you go after. We should be annihilating the oil fields from where it gets at least $600 million a year. We should be destroying the government bureaucracies that we know where they collect all the money, oversee the illegal smuggling, and yet we gave that intelligence to the French to strike them because we have not. Destroy and kick the legs out from under the state. Number two, and this is most important, diplomatically, stop saying, Russia, we're not going to talk about anything but deconfliction of our aircraft. We have common interest with Russia and Iran on bringing them together from being uncoordinated forces there, each not liking ISIS, but having different interests also, bring them together in a practical way, except that Assad is going to have to stay around for a while because Iran and Russia wanted to, but then pivot them towards a common threat of ISIS. And then, most importantly, Alex, tell me where it ends. If you're going to put more special forces in, and you're going to put them with the Kurds like we did, but the Kurds are going to take over the Sunni land that's there, well, are they going to stay there afterwards and dominate and not let the Sunnis come back? Has the president thought through that when he uses force, what is the aftermath of who we're helping there so that we have afterwards not an ongoing fight between the Shia and the Sunni, not an ongoing fight between the Kurds and the Sunnis, but rather we have properly placed our military strategy like we did in World War II to have an end game by which we could have a durable peace. It won't be a perfect peace, but it's better than just waking up and saying, today I think I'll throw in some more forces. Where's the benchmark to the durable peace that the president should explain to us? That's my problem.
End game strategy, I think, is something we all want to hear. Representative Joe Sestak, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Once again, we remind all of you that our coverage of President Obama's speech to the nation tonight begins at 7 Eastern with Hardball's Chris Matthews. The investigation into the San Bernardino shooting